When I first brought the PARD Sphinx to the range, one of the guy's first comments to me was, "What in the Alabama arsenal is that?" I think it was his way of letting me know he felt my setup was a little odd. I know that more than likely most of you see the PARD Sphinx, you immediately say that's not for me. But stick with me a few minutes and see why this atypical thermal may be the most versatile thermal package available right now. Let's start off by saying that PARD refers to this as a handheld thermal camera, and it definitely is. This is also an amazing handheld thermal unit, and that is because of its design. Multiple people can look at it at the same time due to its screen. The same unit can also be weapon mounted and give you a thermal scope with unlimited eye relief and nearly unlimited eye box. I want to start this off with a quick true story. A good buddy of mine wanted a thermal, and in his mind it had to be a weapons mounted unit. He was going to take it hunting. Great plan. Well, he got his weapon mounted thermal and he does love it. Can't believe everything he can see in the dark. Has had it for over a year now and has yet to mount it to a rifle. He has some acreage. Him and his wife sit on their back porch at night and watch what is happening with the wildlife on his land in the dark. This isn't necessarily a bad thing. He and his wife enjoy the thermal very much. It lets them see things they never would have been able to without it. He won't admit it, but he would probably have been better served with a handheld unit. He might have really been best served with something like the PARD Sphinx. I say all that to make this point. Really think about what type of thermal would serve you best. I have a couple, and the one I use the most is the handheld. Weapon mounted thermals are great, they're awesome, they are great pieces of kit to have. But if you told me I could only have one, it would be a handheld. And a handheld that has the ability to be weapons mounted is very intriguing. Some great things about the PARD Sphinx as a handheld unit is multiple people can use it at the same time. When you're using a thermal for scanning, how many times have you been looking at some kind of game and then immediately hand your thermal to your buddy so he can see it too? With this unit, you could both scan and both see the screen at the same time. Another thing that makes this particular unit interesting on a gun is how would you feel about unlimited eye relief and unlimited eye box? The way this is set up, your eye doesn't necessarily have to be a perfect length behind the unit or at any particular angle. Now this does take a few shots to get used to, but once you do, everyone who shot this absolutely loved it. Another huge point I'd like to bring up is you get zero eye fatigue from this unit. I know I'm getting a little older, but when I look through a scope or typical thermal for hours, my eyes start getting very tired. This you watch just like your phone or any other screen, and we all know how many hours we can look at our phones with very little eye fatigue. The thermal sensor in the PARD Sphinx is very sensitive. The things that you can see with this unit are absolutely amazing. When shooting this piece of steel, yeah, I know it kind of fell over and it's on its side. Probably shouldn't be shooting steel at 100 yards with 300 Win Mag, but you can actually see the bullet fragments flying off the target. Here we are shooting subsonic 300 blackout, which is obviously pretty slow, but you can almost see the bullet leaving the gun too. The detail that PARD gets out of these units is amazing, and this being a 384 sensor, I couldn't imagine this unit with a 640 sensor. It is so sensitive that if you look carefully, you can see the heat generated by the bullet passing through these paper targets. Needless to say, this unit is extremely sensitive and able to pick up even the smallest amounts of temperature change. Now I know a small number of you keyboard warriors out there are saying, but the backlit screen will give away my position, and you would be correct. And if that is truly a concern of yours, the Sphinx probably isn't for you. But I think for the vast majority of us, that's not that big of a deal. I don't want to get too deep into the stats and how to use the Sphinx, but I do want to highlight a few things. I find this unit easier to operate than most thermals because you have 4 buttons below the screen that control the unit. They do different functions based on what mode you're in, but I find this way more intuitive than any other thermal that I have used. That being said, all thermals take a little time to learn, and you'll want to spend some time acquainting yourself with this or any other thermal before you take it out into the field and plan to use it in the dark. The display is obviously nice and large. It has a 5-inch display, so it's very easy to see, and to give you a real-world idea of the size, here it is next to an iPhone Max. Battery life is always a concern when it comes to thermals. The Sphinx actually has 2 batteries, one in the unit itself if you have it weapon mounted. This battery is smaller, and I would say it's good for about 2 to 3 hours roughly based on the testing I did with it. But you can plug in external power if you have a hunt that's going to last all night. When in handheld mode, the handle itself is a much larger battery, and I wasn't really ever able to run that down enough to give you an idea of how long that battery will last, but I would say a very long time. The way it works, as I understand it, is the larger battery in the handle charges the smaller battery in the unit the whole time you're using it in handheld mode. There are even more features because PARD will virtually overwhelm you with features, but they are nice to have. There is a laser rangefinder with a ballistic drop calculator, so input some information and this will give you live on-screen corrections for ballistic drop at distance. We didn't do that with this one, but we did do it with the PARD TD32 that we reviewed a while back, and it's amazing tech that works extremely well. There's also a visible laser and a small flashlight that could be handy to see your way to a tree stand in the dark or something like that. This is a very unique offering that, because of its distinct design, I think many people will write off. But just like all the guys at the range who got a chance to get behind it and actually use it, the PARD Sphinx won them all over. While its form factor may not be what you're used to, it is actually an extremely usable unit and actually better than some of the more typical design units available. If you're in the market for a thermal, I would definitely give the PARD Sphinx a look because it's probably the most versatile thermal available. Guys, thank you so much for watching, and if you're looking for a PARD Sphinx or really any other thermal or optic, check out Optics Planet and you can save 7% with the code Alabama. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button because, as always, we have some really big reviews in the works that you won't want to miss. If you want to know what those reviews are way before they hit the YouTube channel, check us out on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, where you can see what's being reviewed in real time. And by the way, check the links in the description. There you can find some cool stuff that I found and the best deals on it. If you want to help support Alabama Arsenal, the absolute best way to do that is through Patreon. These videos can be surprisingly expensive to make, and every little bit helps and is greatly appreciated. There's also Alabama Arsenal gear available right below the video if you want to go out and represent. And as always, guys, thank you so much for watching.